Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com. The Bipolar DM, Jason Cottam. His show talks about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. Check us out right here on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, also on WLFE-DB.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So take a seat, sit back, and get ready for the Bipolar DM.
Warning. The material discussed in this show may be sensitive or a trigger for some listeners. Strong language and topics are discussed. We talk with active duty service members and practice OPSEC at all times. You have been warned. Welcome to the Bipolar DM broadcast. I am your host, Jason. This is a show about indie writing, Dungeons and Dragons, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. If you want to get a hold of me or want to watch us live, you can go to WLFE-DB.com or Stream TV under Variety Unlimited to watch our show live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, or go to twitch.tv/TheBipolarDM. There you can catch previous episodes of my show, as well as Bipolar Dragons and other spinoffs. If you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me by email. The email address is thebipolardm@gmail.com, or visit my webpage, www.thebipolardm.com. There you'll find previous episodes of my podcast, my blog, as well as information on indie writing, Dungeons and Dragons, and mental illness. For those of you who are supporters of the page, we do have a Patreon account. It is patreon.com/TheBipolarDM. Your support goes towards support for helping out the show go on. It helps buy equipment, helps pay for the software, and also the monthly dues and fees that are required in order to put this broadcast on. So if you want to support the show, we have goodies available at each level of support. So be sure to check that out, patreon.com/TheBipolarDM. Or if you just want to buy merch from us, t-shirts, buttons, stickers, or any of the other items that we have for sale, you can get our merch at Bipolar DM on Facebook. We do have a Facebook store, so you can go on there and purchase those items there, such as t-shirts, buttons, and stickers. National Veterans Podcast Awards are going on right now, so voting has begun. So if you go to go to veteranpodcastawards.com. You can vote on your favorite shows that are produced either by active duty or military veterans. So be sure to check that out. Vote for your favorite show and vote often. Be sure to check out some of the other great shows that we have on that are also available on the National Veterans Podcast Awards website. We are also a proud safe space. So if you're going through a crisis right now and you need a safe space, we are there to provide one for you. We are not doctors. We are not psychiatrists or psychologists. We're not here to solve your problems, but we are here to listen. And so if you are going through a crisis right now and have no one else to turn to, go to WLFE-DB.com. Click on the resource button that we have for safe space. And there you will be able to get hooked up with some great resources. Next week's show, we're going to be broadcasting probably from the woods if we're not going to do a previous broadcast. Haven't decided yet exactly what I'm going to do on that one, but I'll be camping next weekend, and so I'm probably either going to have the repeat show, which is now available through StreamYard. They're able to do that at all times now, or I might try and broadcast from location. So next week's show kind of gone up in the air. Today's show, we're going to be talking about the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons from an obscure game that was played by war gamers to now it is being used in mainstream therapy. And so we're going to be talking about that today on today's show. So, what is this game called Dungeons and Dragons? Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game that originally started out as a combat game, as a miniature war game. And its first evolution was chainmail, which was the beginning origins of what we now know as Dungeons and Dragons, in which it was set in a fantasy setting. And instead of recreating large-scale battles like Waterloo and Pickett's Charge and stuff like that, we are doing small unit tactics and in a fantasy setting. And so Dungeons and Dragons started out as a war game and then evolved into what we see as today. It started out much different than it is today. The numbers, it was a lot more crunchy on the math and a lot less on the role playing. And so Dungeons and Dragons was a difficult game to play in the previous versions, especially when you get into like second edition and stuff like that. But Tolkien's family, because Dungeons and Dragons are chainmail, borrowed so heavily from Tolkien, the Tolkien estate ended up suing TSR, the original holders of Dungeons and Dragons, because they were using hobbits and they're making references to Tolkien and all that. And so they ended up getting sued because of copyright infringement. And so they had to take a lot out. And so they replaced hobbits with halflings and changed a lot of the world setting and everything like that so that it'd be a little bit more compliant with copyright laws. So we go from crunchy to now more player friendly. So with the Dungeons and Dragons previous editions, it was a lot of math and it was and very technical game, especially when it came to combat. And you play editions like 3.5 or Pathfinder. They are definitely a lot more numbers heavy than the 5th edition, which is the current edition that's out right now. And Wizards of the Coast, who currently owns Dungeons and Dragons, decided to make a more player accessible version of Dungeons and Dragons just a few years ago when they released the 5e or 5th edition. And that one's been, for the most part, welcomed with open arms, although there are still a lot of old school holdouts that still prefer the older, 3.5 or Pathfinder editions of the game. But for the most part, it's 5th edition has been a great success for dungeon masters and players alike. And so, one of the books that you need to have for Dungeons and Dragons is the Player's Handbook. And the Monsters Manual. Really, if you're going to just get 2 books to play Dungeons and Dragons, it would be the Player's Handbook and the Monsters Manual are the necessities for playing. Now, there is the Dungeon Master's Guide, which has a lot of great tips, tricks, and also a lot of other tables and stuff like that for creating adventures. And so that would be my third book to get, is the Dungeon Master's Guide, after buying the Player's Handbook and the Monster's Manual, because really you can't play Dungeons and Dragons without the first two books, and the third book's more of an option. When I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons 30 years ago, it was in, well, actually 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. All I had was just a couple friends, a player's handbook, and a monster's manual, and I didn't have a Dungeon Master's Guide. And so getting started out, I figured out that I really didn't need all that stuff. I eventually did buy it and added it to my collection. But really, in order to play the game, you really don't need all that much. Just need those two books right there, and that's about $100 investment right there, which is it's kind of expensive. Now, Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast did release the basic set of rules for free. You can find those really anywhere on the internet. The free version of the rules, which is just the basic set to get you started playing, and that was kind of a brilliant move for them to make, so that you can still play the game without having a big, huge monetary investment. The heart of Dungeons and Dragons. The heart of Dungeons and Dragons really is the players and the fellowship of the game. We have made adaptations for COVID and playing online. But when it really comes down to it, it does come down to the game itself, being a game of interpersonal activities, where you're interacting with other people. And so Dungeons and Dragons, very much at its heart, is a role-playing game at the player's level. And it takes a bit of imagination and a lot of imagination to pull off a game like this, especially if you're going to be a dungeon master. What does it take to be a dungeon master? Really, all it is just the wanting to play. Wanting to get the game going, because that's how I got started. I didn't know how to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I certainly didn't know anybody else who played at the time. And so I decided to start my own game, and that's kind of how a lot of us DMs get into it, is that there's nobody else around to play, and so we have to kind of do it ourselves and get the game going. And so really, all you really need to be a dungeon master, to be successful at it, is a desire to play and a couple of books and some pad and paper to write an adventure. But there's a difference between what it takes to be a DM and what it takes to be a great DM. To be a great dungeon master, you need to be able to improv on your feet, and because characters, the players, they will go off the rails in a heartbeat. And the adventure that you have been working on for days or weeks or hours will go just right out the window. Case in point, I had an adventure in which I was playing. It was when I was in the Army. A bunch of us in the barracks were playing, and I had started this adventure where a bunch of the characters had come into this town, and they had not done anything. They just arrived. And so I had a guard walk up to them and to introduce himself and to present the job board where they could find an adventure, which I had planned on them finding. As soon as the guard walked up, one of the players yelled, "Run!" And the next thing I know, I had a 4-way foot race going in 4 different directions, and I was completely unprepared for it. Stuff like that happens all the time. and you have to be able to roll with the punches whenever whenever that happens, because you just can't write it, you can't script it, and it helps a lot to be able to have those improv skills to be able to think on your feet uh, and to roll with the punches. And so, if anything, I would highly recommend, if you're going to be a dungeon master, is to take some improv classes or watch some YouTube videos on improvisation, just so that you can get those skills up and work on those for when things go off the rails. So I find that when I am dungeon mastering, probably 60% of what I do is made up on the spot, and 40% is yeah, it's probably like a 60-40 split. 40% of actually have written down, and 60% is what I make up on the fly. And so having those improv skills are extremely um, useful to have. Um, it helps with critical thinking, helps with thinking on your feet, helps, in so many different ways, being able to do that. Um, Yeah, normally this show we have guests on here, but I wasn't able to wrangle up a guest for today's show. But no, we're gonna talk a bit about Dungeons and Dragons, and also a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons and therapy as well. And last 10 years or so has really saw a great change in the way people, especially the mainstream, has viewed Dungeons and Dragons. Before, when I was younger, during the 80s and going into the 90s, they had the Satanic Panic, which was, the scare that Dungeons and Dragons was going to call up demons, and that is leading kids to commit murder, commit suicide, to kill their parents, all this stupid stuff. That a lot of it was just made up BS, and it was a tough time to play Dungeons and Dragons during that time, during the Satanic Panic of the 80s and 90s. Nowadays, it's come more into mainstream. Shows like Critical Role, Acquisitions Incorporated, and other online streaming games have made Dungeons and Dragons more mainstream, and more people are getting involved in it. There was a statistic that Wizards of the Coast had. I'm not really sure how accurate it is, but they claim that they have, at least 40 million people worldwide uh, have played Dungeons and Dragons at some point in their life. If that's true or not, I don't know, but it's a heck of a number, and and so many people are getting involved with it today that normally you wouldn't have thought of before. Actors, directors, athletes, all kinds of people are getting involved with Dungeons and Dragons that normally weren't part of it back in the day. Um, and so it's come a long ways in the last couple of years, being accepted as a mainstream game, and now being used in therapy, play therapy in particular, with the adolescents and adults. Dungeons and Dragons now is being used as a safe space for people who want to practice their coping skills, interpersonal relationship skills, just basic social skills. And Dungeons and Dragons provides that safe space for people to be able to do that, to have that safe space in order to practice those skills. I don't know how my broadcast is going right now. Hopefully, it's going okay. I'm using my iPhone. Um, yeah, I had my computer had crashed, and I got another one, but unfortunately, the new one that I got's not up to speed. and my iPad is not at my place right now. So we're using my phone to broadcast, and hopefully it's going all right. Um, yeah, hopefully this is going all right. I can't really tell at my end how well the broadcast is going, but we should hopefully be doing all right. Okay. So, anyways, um, places like Geek Therapeutics, Dr. Anthony Bean with them, have been on the cutting edge of research in using Dungeons and Dragons in therapy. And they are been developing game books, they've been developing accessories, all kinds of stuff to aid the therapeutic game master and training as well in using Dungeons and Dragons in a therapeutic session. And the way that looks is it's more structured than a typical game. You have safe words, just in case the topics get too sensitive. There is notes that are taken. There are goals for the players to reach mile markers and benchmarks. So very much like in a typical therapy session, you have those notes and goals, which makes Dungeons and Dragons stand out a little bit more as a form of therapy than anything else. And like I said, it provides a safe space in order to practice your social skills and to practice practice your social skills, practice your safety, practice social distancing, social, all kinds of stuff. As all together is what this game is all about, and it's being used in right now among veterans, helping with veterans out. We do have a program that we've been trying to get off the ground called Dungeons and Dog Tags, in which it's veterans, a veterans only group, in which we play Dungeons and Dragons. We've been working on that for a while now, trying to get that off the ground. And it's both active duty and military veterans is what we're looking for Dungeons and Dog Tags. So if you're interested in playing Dungeons and Dog Tags, but Dungeons and Dragons together with us, and you're a military vet or you're active duty, be sure to email me at thebipolardm@gmail.com. There, you can get a hold of me that way. Easiest way to get a hold of me is that, or go to www.thebipolardm.com and contact me that way as well if you want to get involved with a Dungeons and Dragons game and you're a veteran. Also, another program that we got going on is Bipolar Dragons. It's a spinoff of the show that we have, in which a group of us decided to play Dungeons and Dragons and live stream it. And so that game's going on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we have Bipolar Dragons. And it's not professional, it's not polished, but it's a lot of fun. We're playing Curse of Strahd, which is a gothic horror vampire game, and so we're playing that. And right now, like, it's still in the beginnings of the campaign. We've only had 2 sessions, a session 0 and a first session. And unfortunately, our last session didn't go very well because of technical issues. But the first session, I mean, the players had a lot of fun. They managed to find a haunted house, and there they are able to locate the remains of 2 small children that had been locked in an attic. And so they were able to return their remains to where they were supposed to be interned, in the family crypt, freeing the children of being bound by having to haunt the location forever and ever now that they've been laid to rest. And so it's more than just hack and slash, kill monsters and stuff like that. The game is a lot of negotiations, a lot of role playing, a lot of trying to find ways around combat. And the players have done an extremely good job in playing in character and also in bringing this game to life. And so, yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed it a lot. I'm looking forward to tomorrow when we get to play again. Hopefully, I have all my equipment back up and running, and so that we are not having any issues. That'd be great. One of the things that I love about Dungeons and Dragons, especially now, is how inclusive the game has become. Before it was just us geeks playing it, and now you have LGBTQ plus IA. Sorry, I can't get all those acronyms right, but to the but it's been very open to the gay and lesbian community, transgendered, mostly because us geeks who pioneered the game and helped keep the game going, we faced a lot of discrimination in our own lives. And so we don't want to bring that to the table when we play. And so whether you're a veteran, whether you're a civilian, whether you're gay, straight, bisexual, transgendered, there's a place for you at the table. And the table is supposed to be inclusive for everybody to play. And I try and at least make my table that way. Not all games are that way. And if you run into a game in which it's not inclusive, find another game. There are tons of them out there. You can go on Facebook. There's group searches on Facebook for people just specifically looking for games to play. If you're wanting to organize a game, there's group pages for that too, as well, to organize games. But it's very important that you find a table that you feel comfortable playing at and one that accepts you as you are. And by doing so, it's going to give you a much better experience with the game. It's going to boost your confidence in your playing, and it's overall just going to be a lot better. Let's go ahead and go to commercial real quick, and we will bring right back when we talk a little bit more about therapy and Dungeons and Dragons. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't checked out our other shows that we have on WLFE-DB Radio Network, go ahead and check those out. We have tons of them available. If you go on Facebook, WLFE-DB Radio Network, if you do a search on there, you'll find we got about 3 or 4 pages available under that heading right there. Or you can go to WLFE-DB.com and get a full listing of all our shows that we have on. We have both gay and straight shows. We have paranormal shows, we got geek shows. So we got all kinds of stuff as far as content goes on this radio network. So be sure to check this out. WLFE-DB.com. And we have been talking about Dungeons and Dragons and the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons from an obscure game played by geeks to now a game that is being used in mainstream therapy for people suffering from PTSD, social anxiety, other mental illnesses, and diagnosis. And some of the leaders of that movement is like Dr. Anthony Bean with Geek Therapeutics. Critical Core is another one that focuses on playing Dungeons and Dragons with kids on the autism spectrum. And so it's being used in a lot of great ways to bridge the gap of therapy by using geek culture. You know, it's more than just talking Dungeons and Dragons when we're talking about geek culture. We're talking about Star Wars, Star Trek, Babylon 5. We're talking about manga, anime, you know, using those references in a therapeutic session to bridge the gap between the patient and the provider, and have some kind of common ground for you to talk about and draw conclusions from, whether it's from a particular anime or from a particular movie. There's a lot of stuff that we can learn from geek culture. And for example, let's talk about The Mandalorian. Mandalorian, while on the surface is a very dysfunctional relationship between the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, but the flip side, though, shows a deep compassion for Baby Yoda and a code of ethics that the Mandalorian lives by. And so, you know, when we think about our own code of ethics and how we live our lives, you know, what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of code of ethics do you live by? And is it like the Mandalorians, you know, where it's, you know, no younglings are never left behind. You never remove your helmet in front of another living being. You know, all kinds of stuff about honor and duty and all that stuff are come out in the TV show and in the movies and films, so that, you know, you are able to make those connections, those life connections, and in between, you know, Star Wars and your real life. And so using geek culture and geek therapeutics helps that a lot in teaching you how to talk with your clients and how to make references and how to take references from movies and TV and anime and apply those to how a person's thinking and feeling and reacting, and gives them good life lessons as well to you know, restructure their life, to rebuild themselves. And you know, what we want to do with Dungeons and Dragons is we want to bring Dungeons and Dragons to everybody. Not just the geeks out there, not just the vets, not just the LGBTQT, IA or plus, any of that. We want Dungeons and Dragons to be accessible to everybody, and for everybody to enjoy this game that's given so much happiness to a lot of us and help bring us out of some of the worst times in our lives. High school was horrendous for me, and it wasn't for Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know how I would have survived it. I didn't have any friends at the time when I started playing, or had very few friends. And then when I did start playing, then I did get some friends, and that's made some great friends. And it was the first time in my life in high school that I actually had real friends that I could, you know, turn to, that I can lean upon, stuff like that. And so Dungeons and Dragons was a great thing for my life growing up and helping me get through my teen years. And so I want that for everybody else. I want that ability, that opportunity for other people to be able to, um, play this game, to learn from this game, and to, at the same time, hopefully find some help from this game as well. What can Dungeons and Dragons bring out of you? Well, it can bring your inner hero out. It can also bring out the worst in you too. I had a game where I was asked. Well, I wasn't asked to leave, but it went bad really quick, and I was the cause of it. I wasn't playing as a very fair player. Kind of dominated the whole thing, and it was in the midst of some of my worst mental health crisis too when that was going on. Um, but it allows you to be a better person and to be a better version of yourself and to act that out. And that's one of the things that's great about Dungeons and Dragons is that you're able to be this better person, to be honorable, to do the right thing, or to do the quite opposite, do the wrong thing, and to be a horrible person. You can do, you have full imagination and full reign on this game to do just about anything you want. Whether you want to be a lawful good player or if you want to be an evil character, in this game. Um, you got that option there. And Dungeons and Dragons gives you the opportunity to bring out those inner parts of you and act them out. So, yeah, that's what I got going on right there with Dungeons and Dragons. Looking to improve my mental health and to make it accessible for everybody. One of the shows that we got going on that I just started, another spinoff show, is called the Mental Health Happy Hour. And it's more of a positive spin on mental illness. We bring on guest speakers, we talk about the positives, and not that there's a lot of positives in mental illness, but there are some. And also tackling and taking on mental illness in a positive light. And so the Mental Health Happy Hour will be announcing when that's going to be going on. It was at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays. May still be at that time on Tuesdays just because it seems to work out fine. We had a little falling out with the group that we were doing the show originally with, which was the Mental Health Warriors. Yeah, it didn't go very well, and so we pulled out of that deal. But we still wanted to keep the show going on, so we did. So we're still going to be doing the Mental Health Happy Hour on Tuesdays. It will be on YouTube. I'll hopefully be able to provide a link to that on my Facebook page, so that you all can follow that. And I don't know where we're going from there. We're kind of up in the air with the show. But hopefully, with me and JR on it, we can pull this show together and have some great guests and some great topics discussed. Yeah. Anyways, just want to take a moment to mention that our merchandise is available. We do have t-shirts available. I hate bipolar, it's awesome, and the Bipolar DM t-shirt, as well as stickers and buttons that are available on sale. If you go to Facebook and do the handle search at Bipolar DM, you'll be able to find it from there. Also, if you're interested in playing Dungeons and Dog Tags, if you're a military veteran or active duty and wanting to play Dungeons and Dog Tags, go ahead and contact me either at my email address, thebipolardm@gmail.com, or go to my webpage, www.thebipolardm.com. And there you'll find the links to the getting a hold of me if you're wanting to play. If you are wanting to be a guest player on Bipolar Dragons, message me, and we'd love to get you on the show and to play with us. So we have guest players on just about every single week. We got 2 that are going on right now. They are going to be playing for the next couple episodes, and then after that, we have some free openings for any players that are interested in playing Dungeons and playing Dungeons and Dragons with us on Bipolar Dragons. And of course, our show is on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WLFE-DB.com. And attention, podcast veterans. The voting for the podcast awards is going on now until September 10th. Registration is already closed. It's open. It was open to all branches of services. But if you go to veteranpodcastawards.com, you'll be able to find more links to other shows on there as well. And yeah, be sure to check that out. We got a lot that's going on there. What else? Yeah, well, we'll just go ahead and go to one more commercial, and then we'll go ahead and tie this up.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels. Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows. LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows. Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE-DB radio shows. You can find our shows where you listen to your favorite podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. WLFE-DB Radio is looking for podcasts to join our family. You don't have to fit any strict genre. We're a plethora of shows. If you're looking to jump on a growing network, then contact us at WLFEDBradio@gmail.com.
Wow, Amazon Music just got a whole lot better. Your favorite shows from WLFE-DB Radio can now be found there. Yes, we are on Amazon Music, found under podcasts. Download the app, find podcasts, and search all of your favorite shows. Shows like Where's My Sage, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and much more. Now you don't have to miss an episode ever. Amazon Music is WLFE-DB Radiofied.
More from WLFE-DB Radio Network after this.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE-DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. t-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com. You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Hey, I just wanted some of our other shows that we have on available, such as Across the Pond, Real Talk with Dom, Just Cindy, Unfiltered Talk with Bryce, Where's My Sage, Rainbow Soul, and Through Kaleidoscope Eyes, among other shows. Be sure to check those out on WLFE-DB.com, and that's what we got going on there. All right. Oh, got some comments here. Robert White calling from across the other side of the world, and he's been playing with us on Dungeons and Bipolar Dragons. Can't wait to have you back again, Robert. Sorry about the last game. It didn't go very well, but hopefully this time it will. So Robert, giving a shout out to him. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing a little tricking out here. Okay, I got about less than 15 minutes left in the broadcast, so let me see if I can't stretch this out. Yeah, talking about Dungeons and Dragons and mental health. Dungeons and Dragons has really, it's been through the ringer and it's survived the other side and is now helping people out in so many different ways, and not just an escapism or a way to get away from reality, but for them to practice their coping mechanisms and life skills, and yes, and also to escape from reality, because the reality of mental illness is that it sucks. It sucks to live with. It sucks to have. And when you're faced with it every single day of your life, you need those breaks from reality. You need those breaks from what's going on in your life to take a mental health day, whether that's to slay some monsters or escape into a good book. It doesn't matter. What's important is that you're taking that time for yourself and that you're taking care of your mental health. So whether you're doing it through play therapy like Dungeons and Dragons, or if you're doing it just through your own setup, self-care, you do what you got to do in order to take care of yourself. Because you are your own greatest advocate. And that's one thing I always try and press upon people, is to be your own advocate, because nobody else is going to advocate for you. Whether it's for mental illness issues or life issues or whatever, you have to be your own advocate, and you need to be able to speak up for yourself, and to also be educated about your illness and your diagnosis as well. Dungeons and Dragons has come a long way over the last 40 years, since the 70s. Nobody would have thought that it would have came up as it did today, as it is now, in the way that it's being used. Sorry, hit a button. Didn't mean to do that. Thank you, Robert, for being understanding. I can't wait to play with you again on tomorrow, so looking forward to it. Well, hopefully we'll get through those technical issues as well and have a great game for Bipolar Dragons. And I'm going to go ahead and just tie it up with that. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone that has supported the show and has been viewers, and also my Patreon supporters as well. Be sure to check us out on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central on WLFE-DB.com or Stream TV under the Variety Unlimited channel. Or you can go to twitch.tv/The Bipolar DM to catch us live and catch previous episodes. Bipolar Dragons is live on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central on Twitch TV. And if you're a veteran or active duty and interested in playing Dungeons & Dragons, we do have Dungeons & Dog Tags. We're doing a call out for that, so be sure to reach out to me for that. Again, next week's show is going to be probably either a rebroadcast or it's going to be done live from the woods where I'm camping at. So that's going to be a little bit of excitement there. So hopefully that will work out. And remember, everybody. Let's see. We got one more comment. Okay, so my audio's not working out right. Great. All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and tie this up. Thank you so much for listening in and watching, and appreciate every single one of you. And thank you again. And remember, everybody, take your meds.
Thank you for listening to the Bipolar DM. They love sharing thoughts and ideas. See you next week, 7 p.m. Saturdays on WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows, and that makes for great talk radio. WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.